Hi, evening everybody. I am just hopefully going live. I am here. I'm just trying to set up my YouTube so that I can catch any questions. There we go. Brilliant. Okie dokie. So if you can... oh, yes. There we go. Got that. That's fine. Live chat. There's the live chat. Brilliant. I've got that next to me. So, yeah. So, hi, everybody. Let me know that you can hear me okay. Hi, Dee. Yes, just let me know that everything's okay with the sound and everything. Oh, hi, Joanne. Lovely puppy. She's doing brilliantly. She's such a good girl. Honestly, she is such a good girl. I can't tell you how brilliant she is. She's been here since Sunday and she's only had 2 accidents in the house. She's an absolute joy. She's just fabulous. She just wants to play with all of the, with the big dogs. And the big dogs are big. And part of the time they're fine to play. And then part of the time they really don't want to play. So we have to be very, very, very careful, especially at food times. We have to be really careful at food times. So, yeah. But, she's absolutely fantastic. She's not sleeping. So it's a good job you can't see me because I have a burst blood vessel in my eye. From lack of sleep, and I'm very tired. So I'm going to bed at sort of 11, 12. I'm getting up at about 3, and then I'm going back to bed and then getting up at 5. So I currently haven't had an awful lot of sleep. So if everything goes quiet tonight and my pencil just kind of drops on the page, you'll know that I've fallen asleep. You'll have to give me a big shout to wake me up. Anyway, so I hope everybody's okay. I think we have the last clap for the NHS tonight, if I am correct. So the lovely Vicky, I've kept my messenger on my iPad so that I can see when Vicky's getting in touch with me with questions and stuff. So do ask questions. And the other thing I was going to say to you, because obviously I'm drawing live every week. It's not necessarily exactly the same thing every week. But one of the things that I did want to ask was, do you want me to complete the Spaniel ear with you each week, or are you getting completely bored of the Spaniel ear? And if you're getting completely bored, we can maybe do some smaller things each week so that we can almost finish it. And I was thinking about doing some leather and stuff like that. And I've got the little leather, what would you call it? A study, I suppose. I've got the leather study. I'm going to sort of show you a little bit later on. I've also got the owl that I finished that I thought I'd just kind of talk you through what I thought about the paper and everything. I didn't know whether you wanted me to carry on with the Spaniel, which I'm being really, really happy to do, or whether you're all a bit bored, because I don't want you to be bored. It's up to you if you want me to carry on. At least finish one ear. Okay, Lisa. Right, okay, that's fine. I'll do that. I'll just have to get a move on. I'll just have to start speeding. But yes, I can do that. So I thought today I'd kind of start to work in this area here and start to bring in some of these sort of curly bits and everything. And then before the end, I'll just show you quickly the leather and give you a little bit of a breakdown of the leather and we can go from there. So I'm currently using this is the walnut brown polychromos, and actually something that I've just got these 2 out so that you can have a look at them. Somebody asked a question about the studios and artists pencils. So I'm just going to show you there. So this is the studio that I use, and this is the artist one. They're not the same colour. This is burnt yellow ochre and this is brown ochre. But basically they are the brown ochre of the studio. They are exactly the same pigment. But one is much narrower and the other one is a bit fatter. And the artists ones, the round ones, they have got more colours, but the colours that they share are exactly the same. So if you prefer a round pencil and a fatter pencil, then the artists are a good one. But if you prefer a slimmer one and one that's not going to roll off the table, then the Studio's a good one. So I just thought I'd let you have a look at that to kind of show you. And then, right, so I'm going to bring in dark sepia. Oh, gosh. Blimey. Dark sepia. And I'm just going to start putting in a little bit of dark in here. In this corner of the ear here. Now I like to put in the darks quite quickly because it means that we know how dark everything else has to go, or how light everything else has to go. So if you don't get your darks dark enough, then your midtones are going to be too light and your highlights are going to be too light, and everything's just going to be sort of like look like a bit of a faded version of what it is that you're trying to draw. So it's really important to get your darks dark enough. I'd love to see you paint little studies of textures. I'd love to complete the Spaniel, yeah. Well, actually, I'm going to be doing a leather tutorial, but what I'm going to be doing is just a small study, and I'm going to be doing it 3 times, and I'm going to be doing it once on pastel mat, once on drafting film, and once on the smooth paper. So you can kind of, and I'm doing that for Patreon, but I'll put some time lapses up on YouTube, but you can then kind of see how I tackle the same subject but on the different surfaces, because I think it's really, really, really interesting to see how you change the processes and the techniques and everything when you're using the different surfaces. I know for certain with the owl, I ended up with a really, really sore wrist because I was burnishing so hard. And and I'm used to really, really light pressure on the pastel mat. So I'm using really light pressure here, and I'm using the dark sepia rather than black. It's a really, really good dark colour, and it'll go with the browns. It'll go with the sort of orangey tones as well. So it's quite a good colour to use for those dark areas. So I'm just we've got a nice shine on this bit as well, so I just want to bring in this little bit in here and down there. I've been running around the garden with the puppy, and it's absolutely red hot here. And now apparently she's put her head in the water bowl and it's spilt everywhere, so I have disappeared into my studio, so I don't have to tidy it up. So, and then I've got the grown-up dogs in the studio, so they're being very well behaved. Okay, so I've also got in here the warm grey. Where are you, warm grey? There. Oh, thanks, Dee. Oh, that's okay, Jodie. I know I wrote it in the comments, but I just thought if you saw them, you could kind of see the difference. And I did try to have a look and see what colours were different. And I think they have different. They've got different greys in the artist set. In the big set of 100, you've got sort of different, some extra colours in there. Yeah. Because I know some people have said, "Oh, I've got the artist, but I haven't got the studio." And I said, "Well, just use your artist because they're just the same." So this is my my warm grey 2, and this is one of my the magic pencils. This will smooth absolutely anything that you put it over the top of. And I just wanted to bring it in on here and just create this sort of shine here. So I don't need to burnish or anything like that. I can just run it very, very lightly over the top there. And then I'm going to bring a little bit of, what's that? Burnt sienna. Just bring a little bit of the burnt sienna into here. So it's funny, I've been working on smooth paper and then pastel and then drafting film, and because I'm doing a little Hummingbird on drafting film at the minute. So I've been using quite sharp pencils. So coming back to pastel mat and having these really blunt ones, it feels really weird. It's not like me at all to sharpen my pencils, but on the smooth paper, it really is important to keep them sharp. So I'm just sort of adding in this little bit of colour, and then I'm just going to run my warm grey over the top of it again, and that just has a smoothing effect. And then what am I going to do now? I think I'll bring that little bit of dark in. I mean, you'll notice when I'm drawing that I never follow the reference exactly. I'll kind of, you know, make a semblance of what it looks like, but it's never really like for like, and that's just because I don't know why it is actually. I don't know. I'm not one for sort of sitting. I found it really hard. I think I said last week about the owl feathers. I find it really hard to copy something exactly. My mind kind of switches off, and I just find it difficult. I'm much better sort of coming up with a look and a feel, rather than an exact copy. But I don't suppose it matters really. Right, and then I'm going to bring in, I think I might use the burnt yellow ochre. Do I need to run out and buy more pencils, or will my polychromos do? Oh no, for the, which one for, Karen? For the little hummingbird? If it's for the hummingbird, you should be okay, I think. You should be okay. They're very bright colours that I've been using, like really bright colours. But I mean, you know, the polychromos have got some good bright colours, and I am using one or two of them, so I think you should be okay actually. I am using the luminance, but only because I just really like the luminance on the film. So this is the light yellow ochre that I'm just putting in here. Now, I don't know whether I mentioned before about the studio pencils. I'm just going to take my cushion. It's not very comfortable. That's better. There. Just watch your toes, Slipper. The studios are brilliant for going over the top of anything on pastel mat, but if you try and put them over the top of something on smooth paper, you can't really do it. But I got some really good burnishing with them on the smooth paper. This is just the polychromos ivory that I'm using here. I got some really good burnishing with them on the smooth paper. So I think they're a really versatile pencil actually. Really useful. Right, so I'm going to come back to my walnut brown. Oh, white pencil. It's the ivory. It looks a little bit white on the thing, but actually if I bring a white one in, you'll be able to see the difference. So I don't often use white really. We need a camera for Bonnie and a camera to watch the puppies too. Oh well, yes. Yeah, that's I've actually got 3 cameras that I could set up and have. But you don't want to be seeing me in my funny little hat while I'm drawing. That's that's something nobody wants to see. But I was thinking about having like a dog cam or something like that running. But they're pretty good. They just lie down and they're pretty good actually. And little Nellie's she's found her spot, so she's pretty good as well. Right, so I'm just coming in on the top here as well, and still quite sketchy because obviously we've only got minimal layers here. Just sort of sketching that in. We've got these. It's very soft. The hair up here, it's sort of. I guess it's that sort of very wispy hair. That we need to kind of sort of replicate in there. It's very warm. Is it very warm there today? It's very hot and humid. It is very warm. No, Carol, you do not want to see the hat. I'm pretty certain you've already seen the hat. It's the The reason I wear a hat is because my lights are straight ahead in front of me, and they're massive lights. I mean, it's like having a great big, it's about, I'd say about 2.5 foot by 2 foot, the soft boxes, and it's directly in front of me. So if I don't wear a hat with a visor, I just have glare in my eyes all of the time. And the reason that I've set it there is that I get, well, you can actually see a bit of shadow here, but I get minimal shadowing. And I also struggle with flickering of the screen as well, with certain lights. So, so that's why I wear it like a little golfing visor. Hilariously funny. But there we go. My daughter says I look like I'm about to go cutting hedges or something when I'm wearing my headphones. I looked at the studio light fast and was really disappointed. Caroline, yes. Now, if you look at the ones that I use, the brown ones, then the majority of them are light fast 8, which is the highest light fast. You will find some that are really poor light fast, which is why I tend to buy the single ones, and I only use the ones that are sort of the better light fast. I think the lowest light fast one that I use is a 4, and that's the Venetian red. But the others are an 8, which is good. So, but I have the whole set, But I think the other thing as well with light fastness, I think it's very important that we make sure that we use the best products and everything, especially if we're doing commissions and things like that. But don't forget that the light fast testing is only done on one layer of pencils, and we use multiple layers in colour pencil. So, we don't really know what will happen, with the, the light fastness of them in layers. And of course, you've got to keep them in museum quality as well, UV glass and all of that type of stuff. So for me, I don't get too strung up on the light fastness, but I tend to try and use the better ones. And the ones that I use are the usually the 8, which are excellent, is the most light fast. So, but I do hear you. I do understand what you're saying. Right, this pencil here is okay, hang on a second. Have you ever used touch-up texture? Yes, I have used touch-up texture. I have a little grubby little bottle of the touch-up texture here. I would say for every coloured pencil artist who uses pastel matte, having a bottle of the touch-up texture is a must. I think it is a really fantastic product for those little kind of areas where you just need a bit of extra something. So yeah, it's good. Hi Tina, hope you're all right. Am I still on full lockdown there, Karen? Karen, do you know what? I've no idea. I know that sounds really daft. I don't listen to the news at all. So I just asked my family on our weekly Zoom what's going on, and I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing. So I'm just carrying on doing the same old. But we're probably all out of lockdown now, and I'm just still sat here at home. I'm quite enjoying it, I have to say. I know others aren't, and I know others are struggling, but I'm quite enjoying it. So yeah. What's the pencil? This pencil, I think this is the one you were talking about, Mary. This is the Pablo Light Grey. And then this one that I'm using now is the Venetian Red, the Studio Venetian Red. I really like this. Hi Kate, how are you? I did a drawing 40 years ago and the pink faded to white. Yeah, yes, yeah. The pinks and purples are notorious for, for not being light fast. But I tend to frame all of my pieces in UV glass anyway. So, and I try to frame all of my commission pieces. If I can, I'll have them framed. Because then they're just, ready to kind of just put straight up on the wall when the person gets there. Oh, thanks, Carol. I have no idea what's going on. I really can't stand hearing all of the baying for blood and people getting mad with each other, and I just find it completely nonsensical, to be honest. You know, so I don't listen to it. I choose not to listen to it, because I just think, I don't know. I find people get really, really, really stressed out about stuff, and I don't know. I just don't like to. I don't like to hear any of it, so I don't. I'm a bit like an ostrich. Right, so I'm going to put a little bit of the cream in here. I need to do a little bit more up there as well. Well, a lot more up there, but I thought today it'd be quite nice just to sort of get a few of these. Slipper, what are you doing? A few of these sort of curly bits going on. But it's Slipper, move your feet. I do love drawing on pastel mat, I have to say. It is a real joy, because you can just sort of, you know, if you go wrong, you can just go over the top of it. It's so nice. Right, I'm going to bring a little bit more of the walnut brown in. Yeah, Lisa, that's exactly it. Hi, Margaret. Hi. Just want to send a big hug to everyone who's going through a difficult time. Oh, thank you, Fabry. That's nice. It is. I know, Carol. I just don't. I'm not interested. I don't. You know. And I'm not interested in sort of like watching videos on people talking about feeling, you know, stressed and unhappy and whatever. I which is maybe a little bit selfish of me, but I have my own stresses and and troubles and everything in my own life. I don't need to hear other people's. So, and I don't think other people need to hear mine. So I don't tend to put anything, you know, on my social media about stuff that's going on in my life, because I don't think people would be that interested. You can hear about my dogs and my art. That's about it. So I just need to get a few little details in here now. This is where I can kind of go a little bit, what's the word? Awry, maybe, a little bit rogue. I'm really good at the sort of sketching and whack it in here and whack it in there and get this colour in there and just sketch this in and sketch that in and, you know, oh, don't worry about it. And then when it comes to the little tiny details, I kind of... I end up going a little bit too fast sometimes, and I need to tell myself to slow down, because once you get a few layers on with your pastel mat, you can actually get some tiny details in there, you know, if you want to, and it can look amazing. But I kind of just sort of keep going with the sketchiness and the whacking colour in for probably a little bit too long sometimes, so I need to rein myself in. That's probably with most of my life, actually. I need to rein myself in, but it's something that I reflect on quite a bit. I do a lot of reflecting on my work, and you know, if I'm critiquing my stuff at the end and everything, and the majority of the time, you know, it will be, well, if you'd have just slowed down a little bit and concentrated on that area, you might have got the result that you've been planning. So to give myself a bit of a telling off. But yeah, that's one of the areas that I do struggle with, because I just sort of, you know, keep going, keep sketching away and whacking colour in. Right, so I think what I want to do is bring this little paper stump in. Oh, Caroline, what's this say? Can you see Slipper? Well, she's on the floor, laid down. If she gets up, I'll see if she'll come to the camera. But yeah, you imagine if everyone coloured for stress relief? Oh gosh, I know that'd be, and that's exactly what I do. You know, the colouring for stress and everything. I mean, you know, it really does calm me down. It's been a lifesaver these past few weeks for me. It really has. It's if I don't draw, you know, I can get a bit. I don't really get stressed, but you know, I need to draw to be able to, you know, kind of get on with stuff, and especially at the moment where I'm not getting any sleep. But it's like when, I don't know whether, but with, you know, if you've got children, I remember when mine were babies, and I'm just going to use some black here now. And, you know, I can remember getting up sort of like 5, 6, 7 times a night for them, you know. But it was, you kind of got used to it, and it was kind of a really lovely time. But then when they were sort of like 7 months old and you were supposed to be working full time, it was like, hey, do you know what? I've had enough of this now. I just really need to get some sleep. And I'm good at sleeping, and I like my sleep. So not. And I don't get a huge amount of sleep anyway, but I need a little bit more than about 4 hours, I have to say. So that the hummingbird's been done with sort of one eye that's not functioning very well. So I'm probably looking at it thinking, oh, this is good. And then when my eye's back to full functionality, I'll be like, what on earth? You'll have to all give me some feedback when I share it. You'll be like, Bonnie, no, I think you need to do it again. Right, let's get a little bit down here as well. Keep buying more art supplies. Oh yes, no, absolutely. Looks archival, Caroline, that's interesting. How did you get on with it? Because it's not a paper that I will actually buy. If they send me some, I'll have a look at it, but I'm not interested, to be honest, because it's sanded. But then I've seen a couple of demos on it, and I wasn't convinced, put it that way. Not sure that it's something that I would be keen on using. I don't think. I've heard it's just sanded paper, very sanded paper, but I think because it's white. That sort of makes a bit of a difference, I think. Right, let's get this bit in there. So this is the ivory again, the polychromos ivory. And I think I'm going to get a little bit of this granite rose in there too. Now the thing with I'm using pastel matte board here, and the thing with the pastel matte board is it's lovely. It's a really, really lovely surface to work on, but it can go smeary. If you use too hard a pressure too soon, all of your colours can go a little bit smeary. So it's a good thing to use really light pressure. I'm just going to get a little bit of the tape out. Just looking at how many hours a day do I draw? Well, currently I'm doing probably around 5 or 6, but that's not what I would like to be doing more. Yeah, I'd like to be doing 10 a day really, but you know, that's just because I love it so much. I'm just going to take out a little bit of pigment in here, and then I just want to put in down here. Hang on, just want to put in a little bit in there. And I just want to put in a little bit down here. A bit more in there. This is the Scotch Magic tape here that I'm using, just to give me a little bit more texture there. Is pastel matte and sanded paper the same texture? No, they're not. Pastel matte is well, it's funny because it can be really textured and it can be really smooth. This is really quite smooth, the one that I'm using here. It feels like a fabric, and some of the pastel mat that you can get, even though it's the same product, can be quite bumpy. But sanded paper is sandpaper. It's a fine grain sandpaper, so it's not the same at all. All right, just need to be careful here that I don't just fill in everything that I've just put in, because that's another habit that I've got. I've got a lot of habits. I'll take all of these little highlights out, and I'll be like, right, I'm taking the highlights out, and then I'll just go straight in and fill them back in again. And I don't know why I do it. And then I have to take them back out again. It's, utter madness. This is a copper Beech that I'm using at the moment. The pastel mat is a lovely paper, but it's not sanded. It's actually made from it's like cellulose fibres, and I believe that the surface is sprayed on, which is why there are so many inconsistencies with it. Your work on smooth paper the hour was very outstanding. Oh, thanks so much, Tina. I really loved that. Thanks, Jenny. Not to encourage anyone, but don't have a sale on. Oh, yes, they do. That one is amazing. Thank you. It's the Don't sale only in the UK. I think so. Oh, hi, Claire. Can you possibly list your magic pencils, and can we see Nelly? Yes, so my magic pencils are so that's a magic one, that's a magic one, that's a magic one, and that's kind of a magic one. So these are 4 magic ones. So 3 are Pablos. Pablos are really good at smoothing. No, 2 of them are Pablos, and the other 2 are polychromos. So that's the warm grey 2. This is the granite rose, and this is the cold grey, the Pablo. And then the burnt ochre, another good smoothing one. And anything that's... What else is a good smoothing one? Cocoa, the Pablo Cocoa, that's a really good smoothing one. They're just very, very nice soft pencils, and they kind of smooth out the pigment underneath everything, so they work really, really well. Right, I've got a little bit of that in there now, that's fine. And then I can just bring in a bit more of that black. And can you see Nellie? She's asleep at the minute. It's just getting her under the camera. But I'll try. I'll see what she's doing. She is a very, very sweet girl. She's an absolute joy. Honestly, she's an absolute joy. Well, we knew she would be because she's Slipper's sister. And Slipper's just an amazing dog. She really is. She can be a bit naughty with her food, so we've got to be really careful. And of course, Vincent is a giant, so we have to be careful with him that he doesn't jump on her, because he can get a bit exuberant. But she's loving playing with them, and they are gentle. Although I think they think their names have changed to Gently. So I'm like, gently, because they just all want to play all of the time. And Slipper and Vinny, they play really, they're rough. They play really roughly. So we have to be really, really careful. I think it's a good idea to be careful anyway. I'm just going to sharpen up my granite rose here, and my pale light grey. Okay, so I'm missing all of these questions down here. Oh gosh, there's loads. Oh right, that doesn't sound good, Caroline. Right, I've just sharpened the this is the Pablo light grey, which I'm just putting a little bit of this in down here, and I'm going to put some of the copper Beech down here as well. So with my hair, how I draw my animal hair, because you know there's loads of artists draw animals and they have videos and all of that type of stuff out, and we've all got really different styles and everything. But for me, I always aim for my hair to look real, you know, and that's why I kind of take my time and you know, it just sort of, it's not a quick process at all. Okay, so I'm just putting a little bit of that ivory in there. What type of puppy did I say? Her mum is Newfoundland. So her mum is a Lancia Newfoundland, so she's brown and white. And she's not very thick set. And her dad is a standard poodle, a chocolate standard poodle. So she's got the same mum as Slipper, but a different dad. So she's sort of very brown to this Spaniel that we're drawing, that lovely sort of chocolate brown. And she has, at the moment, she has green eyes. She's very pretty, and she seems to be very intelligent. Actually, I mean, Slipper was pretty clever, you know, cottoned onto things very quickly. Yeah, she's an absolute darling. She really is. She's a little poppet. I mean, I know we've only had her a few days and it will probably change, but she's just got this sweet little smiley face. She's lovely. And floppy. She's all floppy and soft and cuddly. So, bless her. Okay, so just bring a little bit more into here. So when I put my, when I'm sort of like trying to create the texture of my hair, what I don't do is I don't kind of draw around. So I don't try and draw, what am I trying to say? Let me explain. So I don't try and draw a line here for a bit of hair, and a line here for a bit of hair, and a line here, and a line here. So I don't go for this sort of thing where we end up with sort of like blocks of hair. That's not the look I'm aiming for, which is why I like to add, you know, a lot of layers in there. And I like to sort of think of my blocks of hair as all being sort of like little mini drawings of their own. You know, so they've all got their own light source, they've all got their own shading, all of that type of stuff, which means that they all, you know, it ends up looking like real hair rather than pencil strokes. And that's just my preference for my drawings. You know, that's how I want to portray my work, I suppose. Which is why I'd sort of like take my time in trying to create these sort of like little areas of, you know, with little bits of hair and everything over them. So started placing colour on a tiger today. Oh gosh, 2.5 days of freehand. Well, I guess it's I'm just grabbing a cream Pablo. I guess, you know, everybody hang on, sharpening another pencil. Everybody does things a different way, and you know, it's I think it's good. I think it's good to you know, free and actually, if I had the time, everything of mine would be free-handed. So, but I don't tend to do an outline. I tend to just start with an eye and work out. That's how I tend to start. I've just sharpened up this Pablo. It's Pablo cream, and it's very similar to the ivory, the polychromos ivory. So they're very similar colour, but because the Pablos have got a different feel to it, it's quite chalky. chalky is probably not the right word, but it's not quite as smooth as the polychromos. It's quite good for adding in sort of like little bits of hair. So I tend to talk about scribbling to give sort of like a bit of a realistic look on your drawings. So this bit here, I could actually start to scribble in some hair over the top, and this gives it like a little bit more of a real feel. And you can only just see, I don't know whether you can actually see it or not, but you can only just see the these little hairs going in, and it just makes the whole thing look a little bit more realistic. And it also gives me some areas, if I want to kind of go in and you know, start to add more depth and stuff if I wanted to. But it's quite a good way, and this is for wiry dogs. You know, you've got wiry hair. This is a really, really good technique to use, because you can just sort of like you know, get all of that wiry hair in, and it's using the Pablo, and it works really well. So I don't know whether you can see that. You probably can't see that. I'm just going to zoom it in a little bit, and then you might be able to see it a bit better. Oh no, I think you can see it. I think you can see it. Yeah, it's there's lots of little sort of tricks and everything that you can use to sort of help. And I'm going to just use a little bit here as well over this ear bit, so it all just looks softer and, you know, more realistic. Oh, you've ordered the set of 72. That's brilliant. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Right, so I'm now going to use, I think I'm going to use the Bister in here. In fact, I might get the nougat out. Vinny, what are you doing? Vinny? Where's that nougat? Oh, I can't find it now. So I'll use the, no, I'm going to use the, the walnut brown. I was going to find the nougat, which is sort of like a little bit grey. But I'll just go down in here, and so we've got that little bit there, and then we've got this bit here, and then we've got this, or we've got a bit of a curl in here as well, so that'd be quite nice to sort of try and get that curl in. Oh, he's doing my head in. The blooming dog is itching all of the time. He's itching, and it's one of those noises that really gets me. And he makes himself really sore. You know, he's always itching himself. Right, so we're going to get the grey, warm grey 4, I think. There we go, we'll use this one. I heard you talking about an artograph. Vinny, stop it. Yes, the artograph flare. Oh, fantastic. That's good, Ruth. That is good. Yeah, that sounds really good, because it's a really good you know, it is a really good projector. Really good projector. It's very similar to the one that I have, but it's just a little bit smaller. But I don't think you need a massive one. You know, it is a really good one. I think it's got the same. Vinny, I'm going to have to put you out if you don't behave. I think it's got the same. I can't remember the name of it now, where you can kind of tilt it. It's a really good one. I mean, I love my projector. And I've found a way now where I've got it where I've got it sort of set up. And hang on a second. So yeah, I've got it set up all of the time, mine. So it's you know, I just kind of put my paper up on the, well, I've got a big mirror that I stick it onto, and off we go. It's quite good. Oh, you tried the pastel mat and you couldn't get the eyes to look glossy. What you could do, and I don't know whether you've already tried it, is to use a white over the top and just smooth everything in with your white pencil. That's a you know, a really good way of getting it to be glassy. But the other thing as well is don't put too much pigment down. So don't overdo your pigment. You know, if you keep your pressure soft, then you know you can kind of build the pigment up gradually, and then you can kind of just smooth it all down with sort of like a white pencil. It works really well. Okay, so just bringing this warm grey, it's warm grey 4 in here. This like little curl thing, and you can see if I'm not careful, it can all go a little bit smeary. So you just got to be quite careful with it. I'm going to use that cream again as well. Have you tried Udem? Oh, I'm trying everything. Tina is just a pain in the neck. Bless him. He's on special foods, so he's not allowed anything. So he's only on his, you know, only on the raw diet. We're really careful with what he's got. I don't know whether it's like a hay fevery type thing or something like that. But the problem is the vets at the moment, when you make an appointment, they will take your dog from you at your car. You're not allowed into the vets. And I wouldn't be able to leave him with somebody because he'd just go mental. He's a bit of a stress head, and I don't know why. So I'm just waiting until we can actually go to the vets and see somebody normally. You know, he's not that bad, but he's just he just itches himself all of the time. Have you tried? Don't have the printer. I need to find out if there's a projector that would work with that. Yeah, there should be, because I think you can connect them. I think you can connect your Apple phone or whatever to the projector, which works really well. Oh, that could be it, Whiskers. Yeah, that could be it. All right, so I'm just putting this in here. This is just black. And then just coming in here. Just darkening up all of this in here. With the black, so that's all looking quite good, and I can darken up this in here as well. And because I've got these little sort of areas now where I put those little bits of hair, kind of go in to some of them and just make them even darker, and it just means that it looks like there's layers of hair in there, and it makes it look, you know, the depth and everything. Okay, so that's all okay, and then I'm going to use a little bit of the Venetian red again. Just put a little bit in here. Right, so yeah, so this is actually quite grey around here. It is quite greyy with some sort of pinky tones. So I'm just going to bring this warm grey 4 in, and then we move on to sort of like the more reddy tones as it comes down there. So that's sort of goes around there, and then we've got a little bit of sort of curly whirly bits there. So this is kind of what I talk to myself as I'm drawing anyway. I'm like, well, if this goes here and this goes there, well, this then I need to put this here and I need to put that there. And it's something that I find quite useful to do, actually. Because even though I've got like a rough outline down, you can't rely on your outline being correct. Even if you've taken ages and ages drawing it, you still have to really look at your reference photo and make sure that you're, putting things in the right places. I know that I was doing the hummingbird today, and I put some feathers in completely the wrong place. I mean, and I'd actually done quite a good outline. I ended up rubbing the outline out because it just wasn't helping at all. You've always got to follow your reference photo. It's really, really important to do that because, if you've got even if you've got the best outline in the world, you can still choose the wrong lines to fill in. And it isn't as much as some people think it is. It's really not a colour by numbers. You've got to kind of be aware of what it is that you're drawing and where you're drawing it and how you're drawing it. So it's just part of the whole process, isn't it? What budget paper would you recommend an amateur artist? Well, I started with a pad of... Did I start with a pad of Stonehenge? And I just bought it from Amazon. I think it was A4. And it was relatively cheap. It was archival, so it was good quality. This is the burnt sienna, by the way, I'm using it in a minute. And it was good. It was a good paper for me to start off with. And then as I kind of drew more and I got to sort of realise there were all sorts of different papers out there, then that's when I started to sort of like have a bit of a play with different things and use different papers. But that was a good one for me, and it's not expensive. So this is the copper beech again that I'm just sort of bringing in here. I'm kind of dotting around a little bit, and I'm following the direction of my hair all of the time, even though it's kind of changing all of the time. And it's not that important, because we're not drawing sort of like a smooth haired dog or something like that. The hair doesn't really matter, but it's quite good to sort of get a general gist of it, and then you won't kind of get completely lost. I want to switch from smooth paper to pastel matte. What would be my biggest challenge? Your biggest challenge will be the frustration with pastel matte being gritty. So when you've been using a smooth paper, you will be used to be putting your pencil on the paper and you getting sort of like a relatively smooth lay down. You're not going to get that with pastel matte. When the smoothness comes with the layers, and layering up is going to give you a smoother result. So that's going to be your biggest frustration. But as long as you know that that's the case, Vinny's just manoeuvring himself. As long as you know that that's the case, then it's okay. But I think the first time you use it, you'll put pencil to paper, and the first thing you'll say is, "Oh my God, this is horrible." Because that's what the majority of us say when we first use pastel matte. It's a brilliant paper. I'm just going to get my little paper stump here. Ooh. Come on. I've got a jar and it's right down at the bottom. Will the art projectors project A4 size, or do they only blow up images to larger sizes? My finger is hovering. Well, I can get mine to... Let me think. Mine has to, well, no, because you can make your images smaller to go in there, Sarah. So if you need to, Claire, sorry, if you need to make it smaller, you could do it in Photoshop and just put more canvas on and make your image smaller. That's what I do, you know, and then it works quite well actually. But I can get quite small pieces on mine, probably a 10 by 12, no problem with mine. And they are really useful. They are really useful. They're a bit of a pain sometimes, but I think everything is. But they are really useful. Right, I'm going to get some of that pink in there. Mr. Hummingbird, was that on Patreon? Oh, Karen, I'm just drawing that at the minute, the Hummingbird. So that's going to be on Patreon in June. And all being well, I'm going to finish it tomorrow. I'm actually really enjoying it. I might become a bird artist. I'm really enjoying it. It's lots of lovely colours, and I'm about to. Well, I'm saying I enjoy it. I am enjoying it. I'm getting a bit sick of green because the majority of it's green, but I'm coming into the blue and the purple area. So that's quite nice. Yeah, it's quite nice to use different colours. You know, and it's not. I wouldn't say it's overly hard either. You know, to draw. It's more a case of sort of like shades and stuff like that, rather than. And we're not layering really either. It's just colour. Just, you know, maybe a couple of layers of colour, if that. So yeah, it's quite good. Right, this is the granite rose that I'm using here, and I just want to bring it in just a little bit, like I did with the cream, into here, just to sort of soften that up there, around that ear area there. Your vet administers the shot will help when he stops scratching. Yeah, I know, Nancy. I need to get him. I need to get him sorted out. He's like I say, I've got to be so careful taking him to the vets because he doesn't go in the car. You know, it's all very stressful. Doing anything with him, I don't know why. We got him when he was a little bit older, and I wonder if that's one of the reasons why he can be a little bit stressed. So I'm just going back in here with the dark sepia. That's gone a bit grainy actually. Just in there. Seem to struggle to get polychromos to go over the top of other polychromos to be. Deborah, have you used? Oh, I use the drafting film for the Hummingbird. Do you use white polychromos by any chance? Because if you're using the white, then you're going to really struggle to get anything over the top of the white. So if you are using white, I wouldn't. I wouldn't use white until the very end. I'm going to sneeze, I think. And but otherwise you should be able to get polychromos over the top of each other. They work pretty well. But the white is a funny one. So if you have anything of the white down on there, then that's gonna cause a bit of an issue, I think. Right, let's get a little bit more cream down here. I should have put this cream in first, I think. It doesn't want to really go down very well. Oh, it does a bit. So helpful seeing you do a Spaniel. I'm currently working on. Oh, bless you. Got the autograph line. There's a Zoom facility. Oh, yeah. Oh, is there? I don't think there is a Zoom on mine. I don't think there's a Zoom on mine. There might be. No, there probably is a Zoom on mine. Oh, I don't know. I just moved mine further and closer. Thanks, Vicky, for that. No, Cordy, he doesn't have any grain at all. It's completely grain-free. So he's on a raw diet. So he just has, he's got no chicken and he has no beef. But apart from that, he has lamb and pork, and he has lamb bones, but he had really bad digestive problems as well, and that solved that overnight. So no, he doesn't. None of the dogs have great. Well, they're all on raw. Even little Nellie's on raw now as well. She's loving it. She had her first little lamb bone this morning. Bless her. The big dogs had theirs in the garden, and she had hers in the house. And yes, we had to wrap the half of it back up and give it to her a little bit later because she couldn't manage it all. It was only one little tiny rib, but yeah, she loved it. Right, just bring that in a little bit there as well. Okay. Right, so I just want to come down here. I think I'm going to go with the grey again. Well, if you're using the white polychromos, Deborah, that will be one of the reasons why you can't draw over the top of it, because it almost has like a resist quality where it stops other colours going over the top of it. You know, so I would, if you want to use white, use a Pablo white instead. And yeah, that's what I would definitely do. And I think you'll probably find that that it will change, you know, and you'll be able to get more layers over. So just put a little bit of black down in here. So I use black a lot. You know, if it's in my hand, I'll use it, and it's in my hand a lot. I like it for just sort of darkening other colours. I like it for, you know, shadows, stuff like that. And I think it's a really useful colour. So I do tend to use it quite a lot. So I'm just bring that in there. Just to bring some touches of those in there. Right, so I think we've got 1 minute less than. I need to plug my phone in as well, actually, for that NHS clap. And then we've got, what I think I'll do is I'll maybe do a little bit more of this afterwards, and then I'll just grab the owl and the leather and I'll have a bit of a talk through. So anybody in the UK, if you want to do the clapping for the NHS, then that's what we're going to be doing now. Just plug my thing in there. Oh, right, okay. So we're all clapping now in the UK. Get clapping, Vincent. Let's clap my hands, clap my legs. Oh. So we're all clapping. I think this is the last one as well this week, so that's quite nice. Quite nice that we're doing it. Right, okay. So anybody else, you can keep clapping, but I'll keep drawing. I'm gonna get my. In fact, I think I'm gonna get my Morton Violet. Have I got it in here? Yeah. Yeah, so I'm going to start with my Caput Morton Violet in here, and I think that's going to give me a little bit more vibrancy as well in here. I love the Caput Morton Violet. I think it's such a good colour. You know, and over those oranges and everything as well. It's really, really good colour. Mimi, we're in the UK. We have this thing since the coronavirus that on a Thursday at 8 o'clock, we all, well, not all, but hopefully most people just stand on the clap to say thank you to the NHS and all of the workers and everything, you know, who have had to keep going, you know, throughout the lockdown and everything. So yeah, that's what we do. But tonight I think is the last one. Not that I watch any news, but I caught it on YouTube when I was setting up my drawing and everything. Right, so what I want to do is I want to actually bring in a little bit of the... now then, where are we going to put it? Some orangey colours. So we've got the grey that's coming in here. Got a little bit actually that... Just bring it in there. Just bring in some of these orangey bits. They're going to look a little bit vibrant to begin with, but we can knock them back again. Vinny, stop it. So that's that bit there. And then we've got, so I might use the Venetian red. In here, just going to bring in, so we've got this bit here, right, I need to use my putty eraser in here, just to get that bit of a highlight, get that a bit lighter, that in there, get that in there. Get that in there. So I'm kind of following the reference photo with where everything is, but not 100%. Okay, and then we've got a little bit in here that's sort of like a bit of a squiggly. It's important to get these little squiggly bits in, and I tend to do them as sort of almost like a bit of a chain. So squiggly bits in there. And then there's a squiggly bit down here. Just bring that Venetian red in on here as well. And then I can just bring that putty eraser in, just to give it a bit of a highlight. Okay, and then here we've got the same again. I won't come all the way down, but... And then I've got a bit of a highlight, so I'll leave that highlighty bit in, and then it just comes down. And you can see here where I've put the highlight. You know, that's all I do to begin with. I just leave like a gap. So I bring a bit in, leave a gap, take a bit in that way, and you're left with this sort of like little light bit. You know, which is just a nice little highlight really. And then you can kind of work that in. You know, later on, and it's not. It doesn't have to be complicated. Right, so I'm going to use the. No, I'm going to use the light yellow ochre, burnt yellow ochre. I have a senior German Shepherd on Prozac. Work wonders for a much calmer dog. Yeah, my old boy was on diazepam, I think. He was really quite poorly at the end and very stressed. But Vinny's good, but I can't leave him on his own. He just screams. He'll even stand in the garden and scream. I don't know why. You know, it's bizarre. But he's just one of those stressy dogs. It's weird, and it is annoying. So you always have to, you know, I do leave him, obviously, because I have to take children to, well, did have to take children to school and stuff, but he used to wreck the house. He's a lot better now. But yeah, he's just a funny thing. But if I have to take the puppy out in the middle of the night, obviously I just take the puppy out. I don't take the big dogs out with me, and he just stands at the door and he howls and howls and howls, and I'm literally gone about 30 seconds. Right. So down here a little bit more, and I'm going to use the ivory in there. Oh, hi Nicole, how are you? Come across the pencil when reading a Cynthia Knott's book. Oh yes, I think you put that, you'd done a post about that, Tina, about the black. Is it the black or something, the Stabilo black. They have a white one as well, I think. They're supposed to be really good. All right, let's come in here. So this is starting to come together, certainly. It's important that we kind of get the layering effect. So we've got hair coming down here, and then we've got this sort of soft hair going over the top. So it's important that we sort of get that quality, and it look like it's sitting over the top, or going underneath or whatever. So it's just worth taking the time a little bit, really. And then we've got it's going kind of in a. Got some squiggly bits going there. Just making this up as I go along, I think. Okay. Right, let's just bring this in here. Light in there, so using my putty eraser just to sort of bring in these areas of lightness. Okay, what time are we on? 10 past. So I'll just do another sort of 5 or so minutes, and then if you want to see the owl and the leather, I can just talk about some of the pencils that I used on that and some of the techniques. The wood on the owl in particular was really fun to do, and I must admit I thought it was going to take me forever. So that was interesting. Just come on in here. Oh, that's that's funny, Judy. You've probably got me in your head, when you're following me, and you're probably, and then when you're not, it's easy, isn't it? When you're just sort of drawing and it's just you kind of lose all the, and it's just sort of becomes, you get into the flow, don't you? And that's probably why. Bonnie, which would you recommend as an additional set of pencils? I have the full colour soft and polychromos over the luminance or Prismacolor. Oh, I would definitely go for the luminance, but purely because that's what I use. I love the luminance. I don't have anything against the Prismas at all, and I think they're fabulous pencils. But if I was going to buy a set and it was one or the other, it would definitely be the luminance. They're absolutely gorgeous, and it's funny, I never particularly liked them, and I'm just starting to kind of figure out how they work, which sounds really bizarre because they're a coloured pencil, aren't they, and all coloured pencils work the same, but actually they don't, and I'm just starting to figure that out now, and I love them. I think they're a really, really good pencil. I think they call them the Rolls Royce of pencils, don't they? They are supposed to be like the best pencil. Oh, thank you, Dee. Thank you, Dee. What size is the owl? Oh, well, let's get the owl out now, and I'll show you. So the owl is on a A3. So I'll do the owl first. Let me just. I'm gonna have to pull this up. Let's get rid of all of this gubbins as well. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. And we'll just go focus. Oop. Okay. So this is the owl. Let's be careful with him because he's been sold. I'll start with the head. So I'm just focusing in again. So he's on the Hahnemuhle paper, which is smooth. Now, to give you an example, I can't give you an example. I was going to give you an example of a really smooth paper, but I haven't got any. It is a smooth paper. You can't really see the texture. When you look at my photographs of this, the texture is, it looks like it's really textured, and it's really not. So it is very smooth. And I don't like smooth papers at all. I don't get on with smooth papers, but I've loved this. I've absolutely loved it. And all I've done, so at the eyes I've used a lot of polychromos, and I used I don't know whether I've got one here. Yes, I have. The Derwent Drawing Black, the ivory black. I've used that, and that is it's brilliant. It's a really, really good black. So I've used that in the eyes. I've used a lot of luminance. I've used some Pablos. I've used the greys from the polychromos. The greys in the polychromos range are really good, so I've used those. I have to admit to struggling a little bit with the sorry about my fingernails. Struggling a little bit with the texture of these bits up here. I couldn't quite get the right orange. And actually it turned out okay, but the getting that right colour was a little bit tricky. The other thing that I did was a bit naughty. I actually blurred the face so that I didn't have to draw all the detail. So that was a bit naughty, but I wasn't going to go into all of that tiny detail. I just didn't think it warranted it really on this piece. I think we talked about the wings last week, but they terrified me. They absolutely scared the living daylights out of me. I just wouldn't. I just was so scared. But actually what I did was, and I likened it, and I still do liken it to a piece of Bakewell tart. So that kind of kept me going. Food's a big thing for me. But it's what I made sure that I did was I kind of had things in place. So let me just get a pencil and I can kind of point out what I was doing. I have to be careful not to drop it. But I was kind of putting things in place, so making sure that I had the wing sort of shape in. And then this white line here, this was a landmark, so I could get this in. So I knew then that this bit here would go in. And then I kind of got this bit down here done because this was at the bottom, and I could kind of work out where all of these needed to go. And then I did this bit up here, and then I kind of matched them in the middle. I mean, they're not exactly as per the photograph, but you know, and that's kind of what I did for the feathers. You know, just slowed down loads. The tummy was my absolute favourite to do. So I used a lot of the granite rose. I used a lot of the buff titanium, and that's where my wrist started to really hurt, because I had to be like really, you know, hard with my burnishing. And then when it came to the legs, he got little shackles on. So I decided that I didn't want to put those on, but I couldn't find any other legs that were the same. So I was looking at barn owls and trying to find legs, but I couldn't find any. So I decided that, having looked at a lot of barn owls, I decided that they all have these little hairy trousers. So I thought, well, do you know what? I'll just sort of pull the trousers down a little bit, if you see what I mean, make them a little bit longer, and I just went with sort of like the leg that I could see. I just kind of added to it, you know, and made it up as I went along, and actually that was fine. The feet I had a lot of fun with. The feet look really, really complicated, and they're just not. You know, you just put a few little bits of detail in, and then do another little bit of detail, and then put your shadows in, and then that's it, done. And the claws were really fun to do as well. And then the wood, so I was thinking, oh my God, this is going to take me another 2 days to do this bit of wood, you know, all of that detail and everything. But it didn't at all. Honestly, the wood is just, I need to do more wood. I really need to draw more wood. All I did was I put in all of my tones first. So all of the colour and the tones and everything I just put in. So I kind of put the browns in, some of these sort of yellowy bits, maybe took out a little bit with the Tombow, something like the Tombow works really well on this paper. And then once I got that in and I blended it, and then went in and put all of the dark bits in. So this bit of wood here that looks, I think it looks really detailed, only took me 2 hours to do. You know, so it was pretty good, really. So the whole thing was just an absolute joy, to draw. He really was, just lovely. So I'm hoping that everybody enjoys the tutorial of him, because he'll be going up on Patreon on the 2nd of June. I've got to edit all the videos, but he'll be going up on Patreon on the 2nd of June. There we go. So yeah, I really like that one. Really like that one. Yes, I'm glad I took him out of his little shackles as well. So, so the next piece that I was working on that I really, really enjoyed was this one. Nope. There we go. Hang on. I need to. Oops, I need to pull that in. I've got this, the board's got a, I don't know whether you can see it, it's like really warped. That's what happens to the pastel matte board, it gets all warped. So if we just zoom in on that a bit more. Oops, there we go. Yeah, so this is the bit of leather that I drew. And it started off as just a live draw on this section here. We didn't do the buckle as a live draw, we just did this bit down here. And this was just, I absolutely adore drawing leather. I mean, I absolutely adore drawing leather. It's just the most satisfying thing to draw, especially on the pastel mat. So this is the pastel mat that I've drawn it on, and you can get that lovely soft feel, and you can also get the light over dark and everything like that. But this is something that I needed to finish. You know, I was feeling a little bit under the weather, a bit sort of stressed about different bits and pieces, and I needed to finish it, so I kind of put everything away and I just worked on this and finished. Well, it's not finished, it's just like a little study really, but it's just the most fantastic thing to draw. This has all been done with polychromos and light grey Pablo. Just shapes. I always start with the dark bits. So I always start by getting all of these dark areas in, you know, just sort of shapes, lines, whatever, because those are the darkest areas, and there are quite a lot of dark areas on leather. So I always get those in, and then I'll just sort of pick an area and start it. I left the buckles until later, and actually I was a bit disappointed with the buckles, but looking at them now, actually I'm really happy with them. I like how they've turned out. They're quite soft. They're not crazy detailed or anything like that. And I do like my pieces not to be. I like everything to be sort of relatively soft and subtle, you know. But just getting in these sort of little sort of nuances in the leather and everything like that, I just love it. And it's really not. It's not hard to do. I know that sounds stupid, you know, of course, you know, you know, it's not like dead easy, but once you know how to do something, it's not difficult. So once you know that, you put your, you start off by a very soft layer of like, warm grey or something like that, and then you bring your lighter greys in over the top. You can just sort of build it like that, and it works really, really well. And because it's pastel matte, if you go wrong, you can just go over the top of it. And these little sort of nuances in the leather, they're so easy to put in. So I know for a fact doing leather on drafting film is flipping hard. It is really hard because you can't blend anything. On pastel matte, at least you can blend stuff. At least you can get that lovely sort of soft, blended feel. Whereas on drafting film, you just can't. You cannot get that feel at all. This piece I've really, really, really enjoyed doing. Because it's something that is, I think do you become unconsciously conscious? It's a bit like driving a car, where you're just sort of doing it and you don't really have to think about it. So leather is something that I really, really enjoy drawing. So that's that, and I'm going to do a little bit more of that. And so I don't know whether you want to have a look at my, I'll just put him safely. I don't know whether you want to have a look at my little hummingbird. The owl is a tutorial on Patreon. It will be going up on the 2nd of June, and it's the whole thing, and it's all live and full voiceover and everything like that. I'll just grab the little there he is. So I've got my little hummingbird here. So this is the hummingbird that I'm on with at the minute. So I've been spending, how long have I spent on this? Probably a couple of days doing this one. I'm really enjoying it, actually. Really enjoying it. This one's on the drafting film. And I'm using a lot of polychromos on this. Trying to get sort of like those bright colours and everything out. So I haven't got that much to do now. This bit down here, just lift him up a little bit. The tail area and everything down here, this is all bright purple. So I'm really looking forward to doing this one and finishing him off. So it's lovely when I get a piece like this, because I can't wait to get back to my drawing board. And I normally can't wait to get back to my drawing board, but something like this, I'm like really, I never want to leave my drawing board. I just want to crack on. So, this is, this is something that I'm really enjoying drawing, actually. And again, I'm having to be really quite careful because there's some specific details in here, like these little bits in here. And let's blow him up a little bit. I'm not very good at doing these sorts of things. I know that sounds really stupid, but I'm much better at kind of pretending that I can do what I can do. And just sort of whacking it in and going, yeah, oh look, it works, rather than actually going, yeah, I've got to put a line here, and a line there. So these sort of areas are they're a bit tricky for me. But I'm enjoying it. I am really enjoying it, actually. It's a nice little piece to do. So that's that one. And then of course I've got my the pine marten that I've been working on as well. So lots to do. How did you decide drafting film for the Hummer but pastel matte for the leather and smooth paper for the owl? I'm trying to get that part. Ooh, that's really interesting, actually, Jill. Because so I would always choose pastel matte for something smooth, because it's really hard to get a smooth lay down on drafting film. Let me just see if I can demonstrate. Hang on, I'll just see if I can grab a little piece. So here we go. Right, so I've just got a load of instructions for my website there. So this is drafting film. So if I was to do a smooth laydown of colour on here, it's quite difficult to get it to be really, really, really smooth. That's not so bad, but it's once you've got that down, that's it. You can't really do anything more with it. So if you've got a little bit in there that's like maybe got a little bit of a line in or something like that, it's very difficult then to smooth that out. Probably can't see that very well. Just focus that in. So you can see, and that's the problem with the drafting film. You can't actually blend it. I think it's focused now, but you can't actually blend it. So that's why I would prefer to use pastel matte, because I can then move the pigment around and actually blend it specifically for something like a smooth leather. And I can work over the top of it with light colours, and I can get all of those lovely sort of nuances and stuff, and it's much easier to do. Whereas with the drafting film, I'd have to really plan in how I was going to do that. So that's the reason why I would choose smooth. I'd use pastel matte for something smooth. For something for fur that's textured, it's really the drafting film is really quite nice, because you can kind of use let's get that in there. You can kind of use your little Tombow, and you can sort of bring in sort of hair texture, stuff like that. You can do sort of whiskers, and I can get really nice textured fur and everything on the drafting film. And of course we can do like I did with my little pine marten, which brings that, which is quite a good. So this is the little pine marten that I did. Oh, he's looking big. So this is the pine marten that I did, or I'm still on with, so I need to finish all of this. This is the one that I've been drawing each week with my patrons. But the tail here, this is absolutely, the film is absolutely wonderful for doing texture, because you can use the slice tool. So if I use my slice tool in here, I can bring in all sorts of texture in here into the tail, and then I can bring my my pencils in again, so I like the black in here, and I can start to just sort of bring in tonal values and everything within the tail area, and it just works brilliantly. So for things that are really textured, and for hair like this, the drafting film is absolutely perfect. It's perfect, because you can get this lovely softness, because you're sort of, you've got all of the texture in there, and it was quick. It was really quick. We got the tail. I mean, this is quite big. If my pencils, it's quite big. It's what must be about 6 inches maybe. And we got it done within 2 hours. It was about 1 hour and 40 minutes. We'd done the tail. We've got all of the pigment in, and we put all of the texture in, and we've got all of that depth and everything in there. So the film is particularly good, I think, for fur that's really, really textured, because you can use all of those different tools to help you. And of course, then once you've used the tools, you can go back in again, and you can flip it over and work on the back if you want. So that's why I would choose the drafting film over the pastel mat for something textured, because it's just fantastic. And then the smooth paper. Smooth paper isn't something that I would tend to choose anyway, just because I don't usually get on with it. I think I would probably choose a smooth paper for something like the owl, so something that's quite light coloured, something that's probably got a lot of burnishing in. I guess it would be a good idea for me to have a go at something that's a bit sort of furry, and see how I get on with the fur textures and everything, on the smoother paper. But that's kind of how I choose, So I can't. This should be in focus now. I can only see what's on my screen. So the slice one that I like to use is this one, which is the manual pen cutter. So I use this one. This one has got where you can see there. Oops, it's got that kind of chisel shaped blade, and it's retractable. So this is the one that I use. And then there's also which other ones are there? Oh, I've got a few of them. I've got the craft knife one. That's got a much finer blade. And then I've got my little precision one. That's the precision one there, which is quite good for taking tiny areas out. So yeah, and you can, if you want to buy them from Slice, you can use my code in the UK, which is Bonnie10, or you can use my code in the US, which is Bonnie10 USA, and you get a 10% discount off them. But so I think that's been a good session, actually. Hello Bonnie, just discovered you and really admiring your work. I would like to join you on Patreon. Can you pay in pounds or... Oh, hi Anne-Marie. It's all dollars. It's all dollars just because it's a US platform, and that's the only way you pay. And it doesn't really matter. You go in and you pay via PayPal, either via PayPal or you pay via PayPal and your credit card, and it will automatically convert it. But what I would say is, if you're very welcome to join now. And if you join now, you'll be charged, and then you'll be charged again on the 1st of June. But if you join now and then you're charged again on the 1st of June, I automatically refund anybody who has joined within sort of like a few days, just because you're not going to get a huge amount out of it. So I automatically refund you anyway. So it's, you'd be very, very welcome. Very welcome to join. And there's a lot of very lovely people in my Patreon who are so helpful and amazing. Demonstrate the slice tool. Okay, so this is my slice tool. This is the manual pen cutter. And with something like this, how I created this was, I think for some it was a little bit scary because we just put all of the pigment in and then I said, right, we've got to slice it all off now. And basically for a tail like this, it's just a case of doing this and just getting texture in. If you want to go in and actually make sort of like a hair texture, I can go in very gently and do something like this, and I can actually create a hair like this. So I can put my pigment in and then I can create the hair detail with the slice tool. And what's really nice about it is that I can run my finger over it and it doesn't feel bumpy. It doesn't feel like I've scratched into the surface at all. That's the other really nice thing with the film. Just some card to charge and exchange rate. Oh, I don't know about that, Marie, but if you go via PayPal, I think it probably should be okay. So, any tips on using luminance versus polys? Well, I think the polychromos are I think they're a really good workhorse pencil. The polychromos, they're just a really good pencil, and they do kind of what you expect them to do. The luminance are they have a lot of very good colours. And I've always found on pastel mat the luminants have gone sort of like a little bit crusty at times, a bit chalky. But then I've recently discovered that actually they are amazing if I just use the luminants rather than mixing them with other pencils. And then with the on the film, they work beautifully. Polychromos on the film, layer them, and then when you use your Tombow, you can take off almost like a layer at a time. When you put your luminants down, and you then go to take off a layer, you take the whole lot out. It's just, I don't know whether it must be the pigment. You just run your Tombow over it and the whole lot comes out. Whereas with the polychromos, you can kind of almost take it layer by layer out, if you're quite gentle. But I just love the colours of the luminants. They're a very, very nice pencil. And I guess I'm sort of learning new techniques and getting used to the colours and all of that type of stuff. And I just think their colours are fabulous, really, really good colours. So, right, both the Eye and the Hummingbird look fantastic. Pine Martin Phil looks like you could run. Oh, thank you, Carolyn. So I think I'll say good night because we've been a couple of hours. I need to go and get a shower. Of my tea. So I will say goodnight and thank you so much for joining me again. And next week we'll get on again with the Spaniel. I'll be able to show you the finished Hummingbird. And I've got a yellow Labrador and a dapple grey horse with a fabulous bridle that I'm going to be drawing as well. So I might have something to show you for that as well. So yeah, so hopefully I will. I'll see you all next week. And apologies about Nellie. Hopefully next week we'll get to see Nellie. But I'll put her on my Facebook page again. She's such a sweetheart. So I shall say good night to you all.